The last thing I heard before the door closed was her laughing. Not with me. Not even at me. Just laughing. Like she couldn't care less. She didn't know I was in the hallway, barefoot, holding a chipped coffee mug with yesterday's cold brew still in it. I wasn't supposed to be home. I told her I had an overnight shift at the plant. But I came back early because my stomach had been in knots all day, like my body already knew what my mind was refusing to admit. I stood behind the wall, silent, still, listening as she giggled with someone on speakerphone. "Yeah, he's clueless," she whispered, followed by a sharp slap of lip gloss and the jingle of her keys. I didn't breathe until the Uber pulled away from the driveway. At first, I told myself it was fine. Maybe I'd misunderstood. Maybe the laugh wasn't about me. Maybe he's clueless, was about some coworker, or her brother, or someone else. Anyone else. But I'd be lying if I said I believed that. The wine glass in the sink still had lipstick on the rim. Not the color she usually wears. Brighter. Louder. The kind you wear to be noticed. I went to the bedroom. Her phone was gone. Of course. She never left it behind anymore. But her tablet was there. And she'd been sloppy. I wasn't proud of it, but I opened her messages. There weren't many. She was smart about deleting things. But she'd forgotten one thread, one long chain of green bubbles between her and someone named Mika. The last message read, "If he asks, just say Tamron was with us. He won't push." She was right. I never did. Until that night. The next morning, I didn't speak. I didn't yell. I didn't even ask. I set the breakfast table like I always do. 2 plates. 1 fork slightly bent from the dishwasher. I made her coffee exactly how she likes it. 3 sugars, no cream. And I watched her sit down and pretend like she wasn't shaking. I didn't look at her. I didn't say her name. And that silence? It pulled something out of her that words never could. She cracked. And I wasn't ready for what came pouring out next. She didn't eat. She sat at the table, swirling her spoon in circles through the steam of her untouched coffee, like the milk foam might spell out a way to escape the moment. I didn't help her. I just chewed, slowly, eyes glued to my plate, even though the food tasted like cardboard and regret. She tried to talk, twice. Opened her mouth, closed it, sighed, bit her lip. It was the kind of lip bite people do when they're not sad, just scared of what's about to come out. "You're awfully quiet," she finally said, reaching for a smile she couldn't find. I nodded. Not at her, not at the words. Just nodded. She tilted her head, studying me like she was trying to solve a riddle she hadn't expected. "Is this about last night?" Still no answer. I didn't even flinch. I let the silence do what I never had the guts to, confront her. Because silence doesn't shake. It doesn't cry. It doesn't beg for explanations. It just waits. And waiting, real, intentional waiting, scares people like her more than anger ever could. Her hand trembled as she reached for the toast. She dropped it, butter side down. I stayed seated. She got up to clean it, but I stood and walked past her, slow, quiet, without a word. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I wasn't playing games. I just didn't have anything left to say that wouldn't sound like weakness. By the time I got to the hallway, I heard it. A single sob, croaked out like it surprised even her, followed by a quiet, cracked Halden. First time she'd said my name in 2 days. I didn't turn back, not because I didn't want to, but because if I did, I'd lose all the power I had left. Instead, I walked out the front door and sat in the car, hands gripping the steering wheel, knuckles white, heart loud. I didn't drive anywhere, just sat, for over an hour. When I finally came back inside, she was standing in the middle of the living room holding her tablet. The screen was dark, locked. Her eyes were red. "You read my messages," she said. Not a question, just a fact, like she'd already accepted it. I didn't deny it. "I wasn't going to do anything," she whispered. And maybe she believed that. Maybe she really thought meeting up with someone behind my back wasn't doing anything. Maybe the dress and the lipstick and the lies were just some kind of attention therapy she thought she needed. Or maybe she'd already done something. And the only reason she was shaking now was because she'd finally realized I wasn't going to beg her to explain. That day changed something between us. Something subtle, but irreversible. And what came next? It made the lie look like the least painful part. The silence didn't last. By the time evening rolled around, she was pacing. Not in the casual, restless way. This was different. She kept wringing her hands like she was trying to squeeze the guilt out of her skin. Her phone didn't leave her side. She clutched it like a lifeline, always facing down, always on vibrate. Every buzz made her flinch. I sat on the couch with the TV on mute. My eyes were pointed at the screen, but I wasn't watching. I was listening. I heard her stop pacing behind me, heard the air change. Then came the words. "I need to tell you something." She said it softly, like the volume might change the damage. I didn't respond. I didn't even nod. Because deep down, I already knew. Not the details, maybe, but the shape of the truth. And I wasn't ready for her to make it real. She walked closer. I could feel her behind me. That invisible pressure, like the room was folding in. "I didn't plan anything," she began. "It just happened fast. It wasn't like I went out looking for it. There it was. It. No name. No specifics. Just the shapeless, rotten mass of betrayal, hanging between us like smoke." My jaw clenched. Still, I said nothing. I was feeling invisible. "Like you didn't see me anymore," she continued. "You come home tired, and I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if you even like me." That part hurt the most. Because I did like her. Even after the distance, even after the changes. I still remembered how she looked the day we moved into the house, barefoot on the hardwood floor, spinning in circles because she said it felt like a dance studio. I liked her enough to fix things she never noticed, buy groceries she never thanked me for, keep parts of myself quiet so she could feel louder. But none of that mattered now. "What did you do?" I asked. Finally, she didn't answer right away. Her breath caught in her throat, and when she finally let it out, it came with a single word. "Kissed." Just that. Just kissed. As if the simplicity of the word could shrink the weight of it. She didn't say who, or where, or how many times. And I didn't ask. I stood up, walked to the hallway, and locked myself in the guest room. Not out of spite, but because I knew I wouldn't survive the night next to her. Not after hearing that. Not after realizing that all the warning signs I had ignored, the perfume, the late nights, the guarded phone, hadn't been paranoia. They'd been prophecy. From behind the door, I heard her whisper something. I didn't catch all of it, but one part came through. "I didn't think you'd find out." That's what she said. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I regret it." Just that. She didn't think I'd find out. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't about guilt. It was about being caught. I slept with my back to the door, heart pounding like it was trying to run without me. And the next morning, I made a decision I never thought I'd make. I was going to make her feel invisible, exactly the way she'd made me. The next morning, I woke up before the sun. I didn't shower. I didn't brush my teeth. I just stared at the ceiling fan spinning above me like it was counting down to something I couldn't stop. My chest was heavy, but my mind was sharp for the first time in weeks. Something had snapped, and whatever part of me used to cling to hope was gone. I made breakfast again. Quietly. Toast, eggs, even her favorite grapefruit juice I always pretended not to like buying. I set her plate across the table from mine. Perfectly centered, just the way she used to care about before everything changed. She walked in half an hour later, hair tangled, mascara still smudged from the night before. She looked at the food like it was a bomb waiting to go off. "You didn't have to," she said carefully, voice cracking just slightly. I didn't answer. She sat, picked up her fork, put it down, then just sat there, trying to eat in silence while I sipped my coffee and stared out the window. Her phone buzzed once. I saw her glance at it, hesitate, then flip it face down again. Buzz. Another message. This time she picked it up, thumb hovered. Then she looked up and saw me watching. I didn't look away, didn't blink. Just let her know without words. I saw everything now, and I wasn't going to play dumb anymore. "Halden," she started. I stood and left the room. From that moment on, I became a ghost. I didn't speak unless I had to. I didn't touch her. I didn't ask where she was going or when she'd be back. I didn't check her phone. I didn't try to explain myself. I stopped doing the little things. No more back rubs after work. No more folding her favorite hoodie. No more recording shows she liked. I went to bed early and got up before she did. We lived in the same house like two strangers afraid to blink too hard. She tried things. Brought home takeout from my favorite Thai place. Left little sticky notes on my desk saying, "Hope your day goes okay." Even tried wearing that blue robe I used to love. It was too late, because something deeper than anger had taken root inside me. It was disappointment. A thick, quiet kind of grief you don't even cry about. It just settles in your bones and stays there. Then came Saturday. I was supposed to go see my brother. I told her the day before, and she barely reacted. But when I walked back into the house at noon because I forgot my keys, I heard a voice. Not hers. A man's. Coming from the living room. I froze in the hallway. My pulse slammed in my ears. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up, she said. He's not yelling. He's not even confronting me. It's like I don't exist to him. Maybe that's worse, the guy said. His voice was calm. Too calm. She didn't respond. I didn't walk in. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just backed out the front door, holding my keys so tightly the metal dug into my skin. I sat in the car again, like before, but this time I didn't shake. I didn't panic. I planned. Because now I understood something that had taken me too long to admit. This marriage wasn't just broken. She'd replaced me, and I was done being the ghost. I didn't leave. She thought I had. I even slammed the car door on purpose, peeled out of the driveway like some cliché of a heartbroken husband heading for escape. But I circled the block, parked 2 streets over, and came back on foot, cutting through the neighbor's yard like I used to when I forgot the trash cans. It was reckless. Desperate. Obsessive? Maybe. But I needed proof. Not for a courtroom, not even for friends. For me. Because until I saw it with my own eyes, a small, battered part of me still clung to the idea that maybe I was overreacting. That maybe this whole thing was in my head. It wasn't. From the side of the house, behind the fence near the laundry room window, I crouched down and waited. That window doesn't lock properly. It's a quirk of the house she never cared to fix. And through that tiny slit of open glass, I heard everything. He had a smooth voice. Younger. Confident. The kind of voice that didn't have to ask twice. They weren't doing anything physical. Not then. But the intimacy in the air was thick. The way she laughed with him. Not that fake party laugh she gave me when friends were over, but her real one. The deep one from her belly. I hadn't heard it in months. Maybe longer. Did he say anything? The guy asked. She sighed. Not a word. I think he's broken or something. Guilt's working then. She chuckled. I nearly vomited. They weren't just sneaking around. They were strategizing. Like this was some game, some twisted experiment to see how long they could play with the quiet man's mind before he cracked. I left. This time for real. But not to run. To build. Over the next 3 days, I became a man possessed. I didn't confront her. I didn't slam doors. I didn't cry in the shower. Instead, I cleaned out the office and turned it into a command center. My old laptop, her backup tablet, the email account she thought I'd forgotten about. I pulled it all together like a private investigator with a personal grudge. And I started connecting dots. Mika wasn't just a name in her messages. He was real. Real enough to have lunch reservations sent to her inbox. Real enough to have booked a weekend trip to Asheville next month under a fake name that matched a burner email I found on her tablet. She was planning to leave. Not for good. Not yet. But for a girls' retreat, conveniently scheduled for the same weekend I was supposed to visit my sick aunt in Tallahassee. The plan was perfect. The lies were layered. But she didn't know that now I was watching. Listening. Collecting. And the scariest part? She still thought I was the clueless one. Still thought I was the man who couldn't speak up for himself. The one who'd fold like always. Cry. Apologize. Beg her to stay. But I was done being that man. I was building a quiet storm. And on the day she packed that suitcase, thinking she was walking into a fantasy weekend, she had no idea the hell she'd be walking into instead. Saturday morning came with sun. The kind of morning that pretends everything's fine. Birds chirping, lights slipping through the blinds like forgiveness. She moved through the kitchen humming. Actually humming. Wearing that hideous oversized cardigan she always wore on road trips. As if nostalgia could excuse betrayal. I watched her from the hallway, sipping coffee I couldn't taste. She had her bag already packed. A duffel, not a suitcase. No perfume. No jewelry. Casual, like she was trying not to draw attention. If I hadn't known everything I knew by now, I might have believed her. But I had screenshots. Emails. Even a screen recording of a hotel confirmation in her inbox under the name Cara Lynn. Funny thing is, she didn't even spell it right on the booking. She used a K. At 9:14 a.m., she told me she'd be gone until Monday. Tamron and I need some time to decompress, she said, eyes soft, tone measured. I know things have been hard. Maybe this will help me come back with clarity. I nodded. I even smiled. She kissed me on the cheek. Her lips didn't linger. 10 minutes later, the Uber pulled up. She grabbed her duffel, called out, "Love you," like it was punctuation, and walked out the door. I waited exactly 6 minutes before opening the encrypted folder on my desktop labeled Taxes. Inside was everything. The text thread backup I exported from her tablet, the call logs to a number saved under dental office, that matched Mika's burner, the hotel reservation, the Spotify playlist she made for the trip titled Breathe Again. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to document her. Because somewhere deep down, I knew this marriage wouldn't end in screams or slammed doors. It would end in courtrooms. And when it did, I wasn't going to be the man left begging for visitation rights or splitting furniture like scraps. No, she made her moves in the dark. Now it was my turn. I called my buddy, Jarrell, divorce attorney, sharp as hell, and absolutely ruthless when provoked. I'd never needed him before. But when I told him everything, he said one sentence that sent a chill up my spine. If you want to play this clean, don't touch a damn thing until she's back. Let her hang herself. So I waited. For 2 days, I played house. I made the bed, watered her plants. I even replied to a text from her mom about the neighborhood bake sale, pretending nothing was wrong. But inside, I was watching the clock, watching her location ping every time she took a selfie with Mika, thinking I didn't know. She didn't send any to me, of course, but I found them. Sunday night, she texted, "Miss you. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Red heart." I stared at it for 10 full minutes. Then I replied, "Me too," because by then, everything was ready. The printer was stacked with labeled evidence. The camera above the front door was turned on, and the lock on the guest bedroom changed. By the time she walked back into that house, sun-kissed and full of cheap motel guilt, I was sitting at the kitchen table in silence, her duffel bag already unzipped on the floor. She froze. Her smile dropped like a curtain, and I said just one thing. "Hope you found your clarity." Her eyes darted to the table. She saw the folder. Her fingers twitched. But it was already too late. Because the next 3 minutes, they'd shatter every lie she thought she could still hold on to. She stared at the folder like it might explode. Her shoulders slumped. And for a moment, she didn't move, like a child caught sneaking cookies who still thinks silence might undo what's already done. But I said nothing. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even blink. I just sat there, one hand on the coffee mug, the other on the edge of the chair, watching her break. When she finally opened her mouth, the first words were somehow more insulting than if she'd just lied outright. "This isn't what it looks like." I nearly laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was predictable. She didn't even check what was in the folder before trying to undo it. No one opens a duffel bag after a weekend in Asheville with a man named Mika, finds printed messages, location data, call logs, and says this isn't what it looks like unless they've run out of real lies. "You printed things," she added, her voice rising just a touch, testing the water. "You were spying on me?" That was her angle. I stayed quiet. Not because I didn't have 1,000 things to say, but because I wanted her to keep talking. People reveal more when you let silence scare them. She stepped closer, waving one of the pages like it meant nothing. "You went through my tablet? My email?" Still I said nothing. That's when her confidence cracked. Her tone changed, dropped from outrage to shaky. "Holden, I can explain. It wasn't what I thought it would be. I didn't sleep with him. I swear on everything, we didn't go that far." I finally stood up. Her breath caught. "I watched your check-in confirmation," I said. "I saw the timestamp. I saw the playlist. I heard your conversation through the guest room camera I installed while you were gone." That last part wasn't true. I didn't record anything from the guest room. But I said it like it was, and the way her face fell told me everything I needed to know. "I panicked," she whispered. "I was scared. I didn't know what you were going to do. You were so cold, and I felt like you weren't even my husband anymore. Like you were already gone." I said. "I just hadn't packed yet." She started crying. Hard. Ugly sobs that bent her forward like someone punched her in the stomach. She tried to reach for me. I stepped back. "I don't want you to touch me, not now," I said, and my voice came out stronger than I expected. "You don't get to fall apart in front of me and pretend like we're in this together. You left this marriage months ago. I just finally caught up." She dropped to the floor, still holding the folder. "I can fix this," she said between gasps. "Please. Holden, I messed up, but I didn't go all the way. I stopped it. I did. I swear I did." "Even if that's true," I said, "you were never supposed to start." I turned away before I could see her reaction. Walked out of the room, out of the house, down the street like I was going for groceries. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know if I was filing papers tomorrow or sleeping in the car for a week. All I knew was I wasn't staying in that house another night with a woman who wept not because she hurt me, but because she got caught. And the final twist? She had no idea what I'd already done with the evidence. No idea who had seen it, or what message was already on its way to his wife. The drive wasn't long, just 20 minutes across town to my brother's place. He handed me a spare key before I even knocked. Said nothing, just pulled me into a hug and held me like he already knew. And maybe he did. I'd always tried to keep our mess private. But sometimes, pain leaks through your eyes, your posture, your silence. My brother's never been great with words, but he's always been sharp when it matters. For the first time in months, I slept deeply. No tossing, no haunted dreams. Just darkness and rest. The kind you don't realize you've been needing until it wraps around you and says, breathe. I didn't answer her calls. Not the first day. Not the second. I let her messages pile up. Please call me. I'm sorry. We need to talk. I'll go to counseling. I'll do anything. But the thing about begging after betrayal is it always comes too late. And while she was spinning in panic, trying to claw back something she'd already burned to the ground, I was quietly rebuilding my life. Piece by piece. I took a leave from work. I started therapy, not for the marriage, but for me. For the years I spent shrinking myself just to make her feel taller. For the nights I swallowed my instincts. For the silence I let rot my voice. I opened up to my family. Told them the truth, not the polished version, but the raw one. And instead of pity, I got something I hadn't expected, pride. They weren't ashamed of me. They were proud that I finally stood up for myself. I got an email a week later. From his wife. All it said was, "Thank you. I had no idea. You just saved me years of lies." That hit me harder than any of her apologies. I never responded. I didn't need to. Because in that single line, I realized something. This wasn't just about my story ending. It was about other people starting fresh, too. Even in the wreckage, there was clarity, honesty, escape. 3 weeks after she begged for another chance, I mailed the divorce papers. She didn't contest them. No big blow-up. No last-ditch fights. Just silence. This time, the good kind. I've since moved into a small apartment overlooking the park. It's nothing special, but it's mine. No hidden cameras. No locked devices. No lipstick on unfamiliar glasses. Just peace. I've started painting again. I take long walks. I sleep through the night. And sometimes, I still think of her. Not with hate. Not with longing. Just with the quiet understanding that not everything broken needs to be fixed. Some things are meant to fall apart, so you can finally stand up. So here's to anyone who's been made to feel invisible. You're not. You're just waiting to wake up. And when you do, don't look back. You're not the villain in their story. You're just the survivor of it.